Okay, so it says that we are going to find the minimum and maximum value of this equation, describe the domain and range, and where the function is increasing and decreasing. Before we do all of that, you're going to practice graphing it more. So what's the very first step that we should do when we're graphing? Find the y-intercept, right. And remember, I'm gonna move this down because you guys have a little bit of space. I'm gonna write up here in a little bit, but remember this equation is in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c. Remember that is the form? So when it's in that form, we find our axis symmetry and our vertex a little bit differently than it's in a different form. So first thing we're gonna do is find our y-intercept. We find our y-intercept by plugging in 0 for x. So f of 0 equals 1/2 0 squared minus 2 times 0 minus 1. So I get the y-intercept 0, negative 1. What's next? Axis of symmetry. Did you not find it? BRA? What? Somebody else? Question? All right, X symmetry. I write this every single time so we can remember the formula is X equals negative B over 2A. So when it's in this form, we'll use negative B over 2A. We're going to do negative and then negative 2 over 2 times 1/2. So we're going to get 2 over 1. X equals 2. And we do our vertex. And remember our vertex, we take our axis of symmetry and we plug it in. We do f of 2. So 1/2 2 squared minus 2 times 2 minus 1. So 1/2 of 4, 2 minus 4 minus 1 is negative 3. Is that stuff going to fit on my graph, or do I need to change my scale? It fits, okay. So we'll go ahead and graph our y-intercept. Our axis of symmetry is a vertical line. And our vertex is at 2, negative 3. We have a mirror point. And I only have 5 points. I only have 3 points, but I need 5 points. So what would be something good to plug in? Negative 5.
I meant 5.
Oh, that's okay. Like, what? Where'd that come from? 5 would work, but you know what? I'm not going to plug in 5. Because I'm just thinking ahead. And if I plug in 5, I'm going to end up having to multiply 1/2 times 25. And sure, I'm going to plug in 6. You can totally plug in 5. If I can avoid fractions, I'm going to avoid them. So I'm going to plug in 6. But like I said, you can plug in whatever you choose. It's 1/2 times 6 squared minus 2 times 6 minus 1. So half of 36 is 18 minus 12 minus 1 is 5. So I get 6, 5, and there's a mirror to that one. We have our graph. So that was reviewing everything we've already done. Oh gosh, some of you hurt really, really big, huh? Now we gotta do the new stuff. Okay, so here's the new stuff. At the top, it says find the minimum or the maximum. Let's see, what color should we do this? That kind of looks fun. Find the minimum or the maximum. Okay? Now the minimum or the maximum has to do with the vertex itself. If we have a parabola that looks like this, we're going to have a minimum point. If the parabola looks like this, we'll have a maximum point. And the point that we were talking about is the y value of the vertex. It's going to be the y value of the vertex that talks about the highest or lowest point. That's a y, up and down, high or low, that's a y value. So here we're asked to find the maximum or minimum. So when I look at this picture, do I have a maximum point or do I have a minimum point for my vertex? Minimum, it's the bottom point. So we write our minimum, and then you have to write the y value of the vertex. So what is the y value of that vertex? -3. That is our minimum value. Notice how it's just a number. It's not like y equals, it's just a number. Minimum value. And then our domain and range we've already talked about. We've already done domain and range before. So domain, what's the domain of a parabola? Any parabola? All real numbers. And then the range. What's the range of this one? Right, so our domain and range, we've got domains, all real numbers. Our range is y is greater than or equal to -3. And that should totally correlate to our minimum value. Because that's what the range has to do with, the top and the bottom. Then we have our last thing, and it talks about increasing or decreasing. Increasing or decreasing. So does anybody like riding roller coasters? Yes? Okay. So if you think about this graph being like a roller coaster, these little cars, here's the person, you know, there's you. Yay! Okay. Are we increasing or decreasing? By the way, you only ride roller coasters left to right, the way you read left to right. So are we increasing or decreasing? We're decreasing. We're going down the hill. What about over here? Are we increasing or are we decreasing here? Increasing. Where is it that it switches from decreasing to increasing? The vertex, right. But when I talk about decreasing or increasing, I'm talking about the y values. So the way that we describe them is using x's. We're going to describe things like left of and right of. So when I ask you, where is this graph increasing, you're going to say to the what of. Where is it increasing? To the right of, and then when we say to the right of, we're going to say the right of the axis of symmetry. But you're not going to write axis of symmetry. You're going to write to the right of, to the right of, and then you write x equals 2. So you're saying to the right of that line, the graph is going up. So then how would we frame decreasing? Yes. So when you talk about the increasing or decreasing, you're using the axis of symmetry. When you talk about the minimum or maximum value, you're using the y part of the vertex. So this is the x part of the vertex, that's the y part of the vertex. Okay? So we'll try one more. And in the next question, it's actually a student practice. There's an A and a B. We're just going to do the B. We're just going to do the B. What's the first thing we should do? y-intercept. Doing B, the y-intercept. We're going to plug in 0 for x, and this one's h, so h of 0. Plug in 0 for x, I have negative parentheses 0 squared plus 5 times 0 plus 9. That gives me 9. My y-intercept, 0, 9. Let me do our axis of symmetry. Remember, there's a formula that you have to know. So if you write it every time, you're going to remember it better. Axis of symmetry. Ethan, do you know it? Almost. You're missing the first part of it. What's in front? Edwin, do you know what I'm talking about? Emmanuel, do you know what I'm talking about? Morgan? X equals negative b over 2a. So if you write that every single time, you're going to remember it. If you don't do things like your assignment, you will never remember it. Okay, negative b over 2a. So we're going to go, and remember this is ax squared plus bx plus c. So negative 5 over 2 times negative 1. So we get 2.5. X equals 2.5. We're going to do our vertex. Kylie, do you know how I find my vertex? The axis of symmetry. Yep. So we're going to do h of 2.5. So in my equation, I'll have negative, then I'll have 2.5 squared. Plus 5 times 2.5. Plus 9. And maybe you'll type your calculator for this one. And you get negative 15. No, you wait. Negative or positive? Positive. Sorry. It's positive 15 and 1/4. Or positive 15.25. There you go. But it's okay if you can use your calculator for numbers. They're going to take you a little bit longer. All right, so my vertex is 2.5, comma 15.25. Now I'm going to go start graphing. Is it all going to fit on my graph? No. So I'm going to need to change my scale. And you do not have to change the x and the y. You can, but you don't have to. When I look at my numbers, I feel like I'm going to only change my y values to count by 2s. Just plug a couple of them right on the graph, and now everybody knows what you're counting by. I did not put anything on my x side, so I'm just going to count those by 1. Or if that bothers you, then put some numbers. 1, 2. Now grab 0, 9. I'll graph x equals 2.5. I'll have my mirror point. And my vertex is at about there. 15 enough work. As good as I can do it. Why is this one look like it's going to use upside down? Because you have the equation right in front of you here. How did you know that? Because we looked at the equation, and that negative sign right there says the graph's going to be upside down. Exactly why we know that. And that way we know, okay, something's definitely looking right here, or if it didn't go upside down, you'd be like, oh, something's wrong here. How many points Do we have? 3. How many do we need? So I need to find more. I'm looking at this. You can choose to plug in negative numbers if you want. I don't want to deal with negatives, so I'm going to look on the positive side and just look outside of this purple one. This purple one was at, what was it at? 5. So maybe I plug in 6 or 7. I'll just plug in 6. H of 6. Negative 6 squared plus 5 times 6, that's 9. So negative 36 plus 30 plus 9. So I get 3. 6, 3. When I plot that and I plot my mirror points, kind of think if that makes sense for my graph, and I think it seems right. So that was all the stuff we did on Friday. Yes, dear? Okay. You're fine. That was all the stuff we did on Friday. Now we have to also talk about the max or min. So we look at this picture. Is there a maximum value or a minimum value? What is this going to be, a maximum or a minimum? That's going to be a maximum value. So we have a max value. And it's just the y part, so 15 and a fourth, or 15.25. It's our max value. Domain. Where's domain? All real numbers. You don't know that answer yet. You get some special help because that's been the same answer every single day. Range. Excellent. So it's using that same max value, and this is max going to be less than or equal to. And then we have increasing and decreasing. And these are going to be left and right. So when we look at the graph, we want to think about riding the roller coaster. What's the first thing we're doing on this roller coaster as we read left to right? We're increasing. So it's going to be increasing to the other right, your left. Of the axis of symmetry, which is at x equals 2.5. And then to the right would be the decreasing. So your assignment is exact same as what we just did right now. You're doing y-intercept, vertex, x-symmetry, find another point, graph it, and then on top of that, we're going to be answering these questions. Okay? That's all it is. The same thing over and over again. So it is in the book. There's a bunch of books sitting over there. If you still want to check out a book, just grab one, come see me. There's some underneath desks as well, and you have some time to work on it. So the assignment is